You know, I don't know why people are so generally dumb. I just know that they are. I hear all the time, constantly, I mean, over and 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 over again, almost on a daily basis, that the SEC is Alabama and nobody else. If it wasn't for Alabama, the SEC would be hot doo-doo. Confirmed, too. It's Alabama and everybody else. Alabama's good, and that's it. That's all the SEC's guys out. I hear that all the time. Obviously, that's ridiculous. It's not true. But I never hear that about any other conference. It's just the SEC. Alabama's the SEC and everybody. That's it. That's it. Lou thinks the SEC is the best conference. Take away Alabama, what you got? I hear it all the time. It's completely ridiculous. The SEC has had 3 different teams win the conference in the last 4 years. 3 different teams win the conference in the last 4 years. How about the Big Ten? Well, no, the Big Ten has had the same team win their conference every year for the last 4 years. What about the Big 12? No, same team in the Big 12 has won that conference 6 years in a row. What about the ACC? Same thing. The same team has won the ACC for the last 6 seasons. Clemson. Seems to me the ACC is Clemson and everyone else. The Big 12 is Oklahoma and everyone else. The Big 10 is Ohio State and everyone else. I don't understand where all this comes from about the SEC as a one-team league. There are some one-team leagues. The SEC ain't it. And you hear it all the time. Oh, when is someone going to beat Ohio State? When is someone else besides Ohio State going to win the Big 10? When is somebody else besides Oklahoma going to win the Big 12? Well, plenty of teams besides Alabama is winning the SEC. When's somebody not named Clemson going to win the ACC? Maybe this year. Maybe this year. A lot of hype around North Carolina this year. A lot of hype around them last year, too. To my credit, which, believe me, I get stuff wrong all the time. So when I get stuff right, I feel like I have to point it out. I thought North Carolina was overhyped last year. I said it all off season. I said, I think they're overhyped. You're a year away. Well, that year is here now. Does North Carolina have what it takes in 2021 to actually push Clemson for that ACC title? It's been a while since anybody really in the ACC has been even close to Clemson. Is this the year? Can North Carolina do it? I don't know. But in today's video, we're going to take a look at the North Carolina Tar Heels 2021 college football schedule. Try to figure it out. Let's go. All right, if you're tired of telling me I don't know what the hell I'm talking about when it comes to the ACC because I'm an SEC fan, go check this guy's channel out. This is D4 Sports, and guess what? He's a Texas Shorthorn fan. Yeah, so you can go cry on his channel to him. This guy's been putting in work over there on his YouTube channel. He really started cranking out videos a couple of months ago. I consider him a friend. Do me a favor. You guys go check his channel out, D4 Sports. I'm going to put a link in the description of this video and the pinned comment on this video that will take you over to his channel. He makes some great videos. He's a Texas fan, but like me, he doesn't just cover the one team. He talks about all different kinds of teams. He does a lot of top 10 videos, greatest hits videos, things like that. I really think you guys will enjoy it. Click the link. Check him out, D4 Sports. Tell him Uncle Lou said good morning and subscribe to his channel too. Yeah, good morning in that, but it's Uncle Lou here though. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, live for you on LouTube today. Thanks for watching this North Carolina Tar Heels 2021 college football schedule preview. We're going to do these like we do the rest of them. Now, these are not prediction videos. I know that upsets some people. I do a series of prediction videos, but I don't do those until June. I follow a similar pattern every year here on this channel. I've been doing this full time for about 4 years now. And around this time every year, I do schedule previews. Coming up here in about a week or two, I do a post-spring training top 25 video. And then starting around June or so is when I do prediction videos. And I do 50 or 60 of them a year. I go game by game through 50 or 60 different teams and give you not only a win-loss record, but who it is I think the teams will beat and who it is I think they'll lose to. The purpose of these videos is just to kind of get familiar with the team's schedule. And normally, I like to try to compare a team's upcoming schedule to their previous schedule, right? Is the non-con more difficult this year than last year? Is the conference road games tricky? Are there, whatever. It's almost impossible to do that this year because of the weird scheduling we had to go through last year during the pandemic. The ACC, for example, only played one non-con game. They allowed Notre Dame into the conference for no particular reason at all. I mean, they let Notre Dame just completely bend them over. It was embarrassing and sad, to be honest. But anyway, I do want to put the 2020 schedule up on the screen, even if it's just real quick here, so we can just kind of refresh ourselves with how they did last year. They were 8-4, of course, overall. 3 of the 4 losses, to me, were unacceptable losses. And that's been the problem, not just with North Carolina. That's been the problem really with everyone in the ACC, not named Clemson, for a long, long time now, really since Florida State fell off the map about 6 years ago. The second best team in the ACC every year has not really even been close to Clemson in most years. And while the second best team, and including North Carolina last year, is very, tends to be talented, has some good wins, they're losing some boneheaded games every single year. The ACC, I've been describing the ACC for a while now, as basically a league full of 6-win teams. And what I mean by that is not that every single team wins 6 games every year. They have to play each other. So you're going to have some end up with 7 or 8, some with 4 or 5. But there's just hasn't been a lot of great teams in the ACC. North Carolina was a perfect example of that last year. North Carolina had some pretty good wins. You start out with Syracuse, 31-6, dominating. On the road at Boston College, 26-22, okay. 56-45 over Virginia Tech. And then came the Florida State game. And this is, if I live to be 500 years old, this loss will never make any sense. Florida State was not only one of the worst teams in the ACC last year, they've been one of the worst teams in the Power 5 for the last 3 years. And this is what I mean. It's hard to understand this loss happening. And you say, well, it was an anomaly, right? A glitch in the matrix. Okay, fine. You turn around, beat NC State 48-21, and people are going, okay, maybe it was just, it wasn't North Carolina's day for whatever reason. You turn around the following week and lose to Virginia 44-41. That's 2 losses to 2 terrible teams. I'm sorry, neither one of these teams was any good last year. You go on the road, you absolutely humiliate Duke 56-24. Same thing, Wake Forest, 59-53. I mean, you gave up 53 points to them. That's hard to explain. Now, the loss to Notre Dame. Okay, hey, listen, Notre Dame was a good team last year. There's no shame in losing to Notre Dame. And this was a great game in the first half. They sort of pulled away from you in the second half there, but you were competitive with Notre Dame in the first half of this game. I don't consider that an embarrassing loss or an unacceptable loss at all. Notre Dame was just a better team than you. Florida State was not better than you. They just weren't. Virginia, not better than you. Turn around the next week, beat your Western Carolina 49-9, whippity whoop. And then at Miami 62-26. I've talked about that game so much it's ridiculous. I mean, Miami ought to put them own selves on probation just for getting beat like that in that game. 600 yards rushing you guys had on them, just ridiculous. Then you had the bowl game, and you lost. Now, to me, this loss is unacceptable, not because of who you lost to. Texas A&M was a top 10 team, arguably a top 5 team last year. So it's not unacceptable that you lose to Texas A&M. 41-27, though, couldn't even really keep it close. Now, this was a close game for them. Actually, I'm going to give you a break on the Texas A&M game. That game, now that I'm going back and thinking about it, that game was pretty close for a lot of the way through. So 2 of your 4 losses, how about that? Can we agree on that? 2 of the 4 losses were completely unacceptable. This is what you have to avoid. Forget trying to beat Clemson and win the ACC right now. If you want to try to be a top 5, top 6 team, something like that, you cannot be losing multiple games to teams that are under 500. Florida States and your Virginias. I mean, you got to start winning these games. Is this the year they can do it? I don't know. We're going to pull up the 2021 schedule now, take a look at it. What's the non-con look like? What about the conference schedule? Back-to-back road games, trap games, whatever. Let's take a look at it right now. All right, here we go. No warm-up games for North Carolina this year. Right out of the gate, you got to go on the road, take on conference opponent Virginia Tech, Blacksburg. Not an easy place to play. Virginia Tech's been, to me, honestly, besides Miami, Virginia Tech's probably been the most disappointing team in the ACC over the last 5 or 10 years, to me. They've had one or two good years like Miami, but they've just had a lot of terrible years too. And I've been very disappointed in Justin Fuentes. I thought he was going to be a good coach. He'd come out of Memphis. Everybody wanted him. He was a hot name. He hasn't done anything at Virginia Tech. He had a pretty good year his first year there, and since then it's kind of been downhill. They just have not been a good team. But you go on the road, play them there to kick things off on a Friday game. Now, normally Friday games are tricky, because you have a short week and then you have to travel. You see a lot of higher ranked teams losing to lower ranked teams on Thursday and Friday night road games. That's not much of a concern to me really here because this is week one. You're not going to have a short week of practice. In fact, you'll have extra time to practice for this game. So having this Friday, if you're going to have a Friday game, having it week one is the time to have. And I've been saying this for years and years and years. These conferences that are making their teams play on Thursdays and Friday nights, it's a dumb decision. Now, I love it because it gives me a chance to see some Power 5 football on Thursdays and Fridays instead of having to wait till Saturday to watch it all. It doesn't make any sense at all. We've seen it too many times. Oregon lost on a Thursday or a Friday night one time, cost them a shot at a playoff. We've seen Clemson lose on a Friday night. What was it, at Syracuse or was it at Pitt? I forget which game it was, but we've seen them lose on a Friday. It's just, it happens all the time. I don't understand these conferences making teams play Thursday and Friday games. Save those things for the group of five. You no business playing on Thursdays and Fridays. But anyway, you start things off on a Friday. There you go. Following week, September 11th, you get your first home game there against Georgia State, a group of five team. Of course, Georgia State, famous for knocking off Tennessee a couple of years ago. Shouldn't be the case this year. You should handle Georgia State. But again, don't let them sneak up on you. Georgia State, look, everyone knows. Everyone watching this video knows. Mac Brown knows. North Carolina, everyone knows. When you play one of these group of five teams, that's their Super Bowl every single year, right? This is the biggest game on Georgia State's schedule, period. They're going to look to beat you. They're putting everything they have into this game, period. As long as you don't get caught napping, sleeping, looking ahead. I don't know what you'd be looking ahead to. The Virginia game? Stop it. You're just a way better team than Georgia State. And then back to the ACC schedule, you host Virginia. Virginia had a pretty good season 2 years ago with that quarterback, Bryce Perkins. He wasn't there last year, and it showed. Still not there this year. I'm not expecting that much out of Virginia, although I will say this. I talked about how Justin Fuentes was kind of the hot name coming out 3 or 4 years ago when he took the job at Virginia Tech. Around that same time, Bronco Mendenhall took the job at Virginia. This is something I was dead wrong on. I thought Fuentes would have success at Virginia Tech, and I thought the Bronco Mendenhall hire at Virginia was a bad one. So far, if you're going to grade those two coaches, I don't know what grade you're going to give them. You would have to give Bronco Mendenhall, I think, a higher grade right now at Virginia than you would give Justin Fuentes at Virginia Tech. But anyway, third game of the year, September 18th, at home against Virginia. Then you go on the road and play Georgia Tech, an improving team. Yes, I'm a Georgia fan. I don't try to hide that. Georgia's my favorite team. I just love college football, but Georgia's my favorite team, so take it with a grain of salt if you want. Georgia Tech is improving. I still think they're a couple of years away. They got to cut down on the turnovers. I'll say this. This is one of those games that Georgia Tech would love to win. Georgia Tech needs Jeff Collins needs a big win. I think he's got them headed in the right direction. He's done some exciting things recruiting. I like their quarterback. They've got an exciting running back. They got to stop the quarterback had way too many turnovers last year, true freshman. He made some exciting plays with his arms and his legs, but he just turned the ball over way too many times. I mean, I think he had multiple turnovers in almost every single game last year. You just can't win that way. But they're headed up, and they need sort of a big win, a signature win, and beating what I think will be probably a top 10 North Carolina team at this point in the season would be that for Georgia Tech. I'm not predicting that they'll do that, but you got to play them there. They're a team that's trending up at least. Again, you're way better than Georgia Tech. You'll be a significant favorite in this game, but it'll be one worth watching, I think. Come back home, take on Duke. Shouldn't be much of a problem there. Florida State, revenge game. I don't care how good Florida State is this year. They're not beating you. They absolutely embarrassed you last year. North Carolina's players from last year and their coaching staff should still have a hard time going to sleep at night thinking about this Florida State game from last year. Of all the sad, pitiful, embarrassing, humiliating, and unacceptable losses that I witnessed in the hundreds of college football games that I watched last year, I don't know that anything tops that one. How did you lose that game? I don't see it happening twice in a row. I'm sure North Carolina's has this game circled since they lost it the last time. You get them at home this time, which I guess is a little bit of an advantage versus having to play them there last year with 10,000 people in the stands or whatever the hell. You ought to beat the absolute bejesus out of Florida State. The problem is, you ought to beat the absolute bejesus out of Florida State last year too, but you didn't. Don't make that same mistake again this year. You'll be a big favorite. Miami, again, an up and down team. My issues with Miami right now, if you go back and look at the good seasons they've had over the last 15 years, which isn't very many, 2 or 3, they have followed it up with a terrible season every single time. They have not been able to put together back-to-back good seasons. Can they break that curse this year? I don't know. Miami reminded me actually a lot of North Carolina last year. They had some pretty good wins, and then they had some losses that leave you scratching your head, and they're just kind of a ho-hum team. I mean, they weren't terrible. They weren't great. They were just kind of the next level of ACC teams, way below Clemson, right? But you get them at home. Now, this will be a great game. This will be a great game, and will probably decide the division, honestly. The winner of this game will probably win the division, in my opinion. Then you get a bye week, go on the road at Notre Dame. We talked about that from last year, a competitive game in the first half, and they pulled away in the second half. Can North Carolina put together a complete game this year against Notre Dame? This is the type of game North Carolina, I think, needs to win. Where's North Carolina's huge win? Where? I know they've been a good team the last couple of years. I know everybody loves Sam Howell. He's a legitimate Heisman candidate, I think. Their defense, I think, will be the best it's been this year under Mack Brown so far. They got to replace some running backs, but where is North Carolina's big win? I know they've been beating most of the teams they're supposed to beat, right? They've been beating most of the teams they're supposed to beat. They've been a top 25 team. Where's the big win? You want to take the next step? You need a big win. You could be undefeated here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could be 7-0. You could legitimately be 7-0. The Miami game, is probably your toughest game there. At Virginia Tech, week 1, we don't know what teams are going to look like. Maybe something happens there. At Georgia Tech, I don't see you losing to Duke, Florida State, or Virginia, or Georgia State. You could be 7-0 heading into this game at Notre Dame. Where's the big win? Maybe you get it there. I don't know. Come back home, play Wake Forest. Again, close your eyes, picture an ACC team. It's Wake Forest and Pitt and NC State and Syracuse and Boston College. All of these teams are the same. They just have different helmets on. You got to beat them. At Pitt, then you come back home, play your last non-con game of the year, Wofford. Come on. And then at NC State. I guess that's an in-state rival. I've had fans of both of these teams, NC State and North Carolina, both explain to me in different ways why they are and aren't rivals in football. I don't know. That's between y'all. Nevertheless, it's an in-state school. You finish off with on the road at NC State. There you go. That's the North Carolina schedule for 2021. What does it look like to you guys? If you guys feel free, guess the record down below in the comments. Like I said, I'll do my prediction video starting in June, and I'll let you know what the record actually will be and who they actually will beat and lose to. But if you want to try to guess right now in the comments, go ahead. Non-con schedule, well, Georgia State, Wofford, and Notre Dame. You have to remember, technically, Notre Dame is a non-con game this year. Notre Dame has an agreement to play 5 ACC teams a year, but other than last year, Notre Dame's not actually in the ACC. They're not eligible for the ACC championship game, and the Notre Dame game doesn't affect the ACC standings. So at Notre Dame, tough non-con game. The other two, extremely winnable. Notre Dame, by the way, still 0 conference championships in program history after getting absolutely dusted by the Tater Man in the ACC title game last year. Shout out to Rudy. At Virginia Tech to kick things off, not the easiest opening week game in the world. What about any back-to-back road games? Let's see. No back-to-back road games. That could be good. You see a lot of teams struggle with back-to-back road games. It's hard to go on the road 2 weeks in a row, especially within conference. Trap game. Is there a trap game here? Georgia State? It's sandwiched between 2 conference games early in the year. We've seen Georgia State knock off a Power 5 team already. Maybe you look at that as a trap game. Florida State being before the Miami game maybe would be a trap game. But because of what happened last year in that North Carolina-Florida State game, I can't see North Carolina letting that one slip. So maybe you look at Duke right before the Florida State game, which is a huge revenge game. And then the following week, the biggest regular season game of the year for UNC. The Miami game, I don't know. This is a manageable schedule here. This is a manageable schedule for a team as talented and as well coached, and with the number of returning starters and talent that North Carolina has. This is a manageable schedule. You start looking, where will North Carolina? How many games will North Carolina be an underdog in? Well, they'll be favored at Virginia Tech, favored at Georgia State, favored against Virginia, favored against Georgia Tech, favored against Duke, favored against Florida State. Miami, wait and see. I don't know. That game's halfway through the season, just about. So we'll have seen both those teams play 5 or 6 games by that point. It's a home game for North Carolina. You could be a favorite in that game too. I don't think the spread will be very wide in that game unless Miami just falls on their face this year and you end up being a 7 to 10 point favorite or something like that. But doesn't this feel like North Carolina as a 3-point favorite? Isn't that kind of what that game feels like right now? If you had to guess what the line would be on that game, that would probably be my guess. At Notre Dame, I know they're replacing some pieces there. I still think Notre Dame is a legit top 10 team, and you have to play them there. They beat you by 2 touchdowns last year in your place, didn't they? Actually, I don't remember where that game was played, but it doesn't matter. You'll likely be an underdog in that game, if I had to guess. But you'll be favored against Wake Forest, favored against Pitt, favored against Wofford, and favored against NC State. So at most, you'll be an underdog twice this year. Twice. If you win all the games you're supposed to win and lose all the games you're supposed to lose, that's a 10-2 record. Now, very rarely does a team win all the games they're supposed to win. Doesn't usually happen. And you could end up being a favorite in 1 or 2 of those games that it looks like you're an underdog in. Now, this is a favorable schedule for North Carolina. What do you guys think? How close are they to Clemson? How close are they to Clemson? I don't know. Clemson's a C- program. That makes North Carolina about a D, don't it? Have a good morning.